Hi, folks. It is Lori Hollander here,
Bob Hollander as well.
and it is Q&A Thursday, and we were asked a question. Actually, we're asked this often.
Mm-hmm.
Should I leave my marriage or relationship?
Mm.
And before we really go into it, Bob, I just want to say, if ever anybody feels like they are in danger physically, or severely emotionally,
Right.
then the answer is yeah, you should leave at least to get some distance, be safe, and then figure out what to do.
Now, there's sometimes that people are don't even recognize it. They have been emotionally or physically abused before. They fall into denial and they think, well, this is okay, or he'll turn around. This is where you ask your friends or a therapist, like, they can give you a more objective opinion
That's right.
and be more real about the risk involved.
Right. And if you need to reach out, call. There's abuse hotlines. If you just Google it, 800 numbers, or the House of Ruth. So, okay.
Yep.
Having said that,
Okay.
with couples not in that position,
Right.
what do you say, Bob, when people say to you, should I leave?
I say that's an excellent question. The problem,
Just like a therapist never
yes,
gives you an answer.
Yeah, the problem is, I think that the information that you need, whether you want to leave or not, basically is maybe not present and not revealed. And so it's hard to determine that unless you know what's really going on, what are the real feelings, what are the possibilities of change, what is the desire to change. I think all those have to be answered before you make such a critical decision.
Right. And I agree with you 100%, Bob, that when people actually come to see us, it's usually because they are at that point where they don't know what else to try and they're feeling sort of hopeless. And, you know, our advice is if you showed up here, is that the right? Showed up here,
Right?
then there must be at least a small chance in your mind that the relationship can continue. And we always recommend that people give their marriage an opportunity in therapy and with some guidance before they make that big decision, because it is the biggest decision you ever make in your life, except for having children.
Yeah. I just want to say that sometimes I see two people who had that core kind of neural primal connection, and then life happens and there's a distance and there's perceptions that grow, and they have a mind of their own about the other person and this relationship, whether they're happy or not. There still is that core in there, and sometimes they don't even know it. And when you start working on the difficulties and seeing what the separation is about, sometimes they relocate that and they can feel the hope, because they do feel that primal feeling that they have towards each other again.
Yes. And Bob, I always tell you, you can't leave me because it would be bad for business. Is that the only reason you're staying with me?
No, it would be bad for business. But I am reminded of that basic connection that we have, even in the worst of times. And I think that's a difference.
Yes. And
I was just going to say that everybody has difficult times, but if there's a consciousness of an us that remains, then you work through it. That's the only difference between, I guess, couples who depart and couples who work at it.
And, you know, I always tell people it's easy to have a good marriage when things are great, but the real test of a marriage is when things are awful and you find your way back to each other.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, when the things are awful and you find your ways back to each other, that's the strongest, most important thing that you can do for a marriage, because you get to the deeper feelings that you need to work on.
And it creates growth. So I hope we keep growing for many more years.
So far, so good. Sometimes.
Yes.
Sometimes it's not so good, but the negative times lead to positive change.
Right. All right. We will see you next week.
Okay.
Have a good week. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.